Hi there, I'm Jared Bendis, and today I'm going to talk to you about recording audio to match human hearing. And there's a lot of videos on the internet. This is just me doing yet another one, so enjoy. And the idea is very simply this: that we're so used to recording audio, so used to listening to audio, and it's also these wonderful ASMR videos out there. And one of the big trends out there, one of the cooler things out there, is something called binaural audio. Now we know that when we're recording audio, basically we have a microphone. A microphone and it, gets information in. And there's different types of microphones. Even when we're talking about mono microphones, there's omnidirectional microphones and there's unidirectional microphones. The idea that it picks up from one point of view, from a larger point of view. There's different types of microphones. There are microphones that require power. There are microphones that do not require power. All sorts of things. And microphone and recording can get really expensive really fast. Then, of course, there's the idea that we have stereo. You see me, I'm wearing headphones, right? I'm wearing headphones, left ear and right ear because I want to hear two signals at the same time. Actually, right now I'm wearing headphones because I don't want to hear everything else around me. I'm sort of using these as sound isolation. Now, when it comes to this, we probably all know about stereo. Music's better than stereo, unless you're one of those people that believes in the glorious mono. And it's very funny because there is actually this philosophy that music should be played in mono so that you get this one perspective and not this idea that you're mixing it. It's quite controversial, and if you actually ever hear some of the people who really believe in mono music, it's you start to listen to their words after a while and you're like, well, maybe they're right. But the real trick is this: is that I'm interested in matching human hearing. I'm interested in thinking about the idea that, really as a sensory input device, we have two ears. So that means if I want to match that, I need two microphones. That makes sense. And that's really what we start with. And that's when they're like, well, I have stereo. But if you want to understand more about it, and you realize after a while that there's more than just the two sensors, our eardrums, that are recording. There's more than just taking one microphone and another microphone and recording them. And we do this when I'm teaching virtual reality. We talk about stereoscopic video, right? There's one camera here and one camera here, and they're separated by that, and then the brain turns it into stereoscopy. Well, in the same way, it sort of works though with audio, but there's other factors involved. So while the human eye is not just two simple static cameras, because obviously there's things like turning and focusing and all sorts of other things, human hearing is a little bit different as well. And what makes it interesting here is it's not just one microphone here and one microphone here that gives us the idea of surround sound. And that's what's really cool about it is you really can spatially hear all the way around you. And what makes human hearing so amazing is not that we have two sensors, because the two sensors wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the front and the back. But what really makes it interesting is what happens with this. Let me go this way. It's the shape of the ear. And so, since the sensor is inside of our ear, the way that the audio comes in and really bounces around and comes into our ear helps to define the shape of what we hear and the way that we perceive it. And what's interesting, of course, is if I make a noise over here, it's not just this ear that hears it. This ear hears it as well. It hears it with a lag. It hears it as it bounces across the room, but most importantly, as it bounces across my body. You don't think about the fact that your body is a part of human hearing. So there are people that make very expensive, what are called binaural microphones out there. And I've seen them. They can range from thousands of dollars to hundreds of dollars. And they all have their ups and downs, and I've seen people do all those sorts of things. And I've watched videos about people making one. As a matter of fact, that's partly what this video is me talking about how I'm going to be building a binaural microphone. And I've watched some of the videos out there, and I'd like to thank you for some of those videos. And I'm not trying to necessarily rip you off. I'm not trying to praise you either. Everyone's got their own stuff that they're trying to do. We all do our research, and we put together the things that we want the best. Now, as you look at this, you really need to understand there are several items that we need. The first one, of course, is that we need the microphones. Now, microphones, again, get very expensive. Now, the idea is very simply, do you need a unidirectional microphone or an omnidirectional microphone. And while you think you want unidirectional, you really want omnidirectional. You want a microphone that's going to pick up everything. And that's kind of weird because what the reason is you want it to pick up everything because you're trying to get all the information to come in here and all the information to come in here. Your ears aren't two shotgun microphones going right out that way. It's more than that. I think I may have hit my microphone. So I was doing some research. I was trying to figure out how much I can spend. I'm spending hundreds of dollars here. This is not a cheap thing to do. I'll probably spend almost $1,000. Anyway, I bought these Countryman Associates microphones, and what I liked about them was that they had a couple things that I liked about them. The first one is just they're small. They're tiny, tiny, tiny microphones, and what I mean these are lapel mics, and they are. I mean, this is really, really tiny. Isn't that awesome? And I love that. That's one of the reasons I like it. And I like the way the range in it. I like the price. It was not $600 a microphone. Remember, I need two of these. What I also liked about it was that it had a standard XLR input on the other side. And a lot of these had different sort of connectors on them. But I definitely like this because this microphone requires power. This microphone requires what's called phantom power. The XLR jack tends to provide phantom power. So the idea being is I was going to have this so I can build two of these together. And by the way, I did buy two. So from a tech perspective, I've got this omnidirectional microphone that's really tiny, picks up a lot of stuff. You're not hearing it right now. I've got a nice big microphone over here. And of course, it needs phantom power. It needs to be powered. And again, most of the times you're going to be using the better microphones require power. It's one of the things that you're going to see over time. Now, I've got two of these. I got another one over here. I'll pull that out in a second. And I needed to record it somehow. And I didn't want to record it into a computer. I could have recorded in a computer. I didn't want to record in a computer. I knew I needed a device that would provide the phantom power. So I decided to go with a Zoom H4n Pro. Now, there are lots of these field recorders out there. I probably could have gone a little bit less expensive than this. What I like about it, and I don't need the fact that it's got its own microphones in there is great, but I'm not using them. Notice that they've got one going here and one going here. These are so cool. When you start learning about audio, you can actually rotate the way that this microphone is. So you can go from 90 degree to 120 degree. I mean, it really is about, microphones. I actually have a friend, he passed away. He was a Grammy award-winning recording engineer, and man, he lived for this stuff. Totally live for this stuff. I'm living for very specific elements along the way. What I love about this, of course, is what it's got on the bottom, which is two XLR input jacks. And of course, this will provide the phantom power. So this is everything I need. It's providing the power. It's got the XLR input jacks, and it's a field recorder, which means I can hit record, and it will record the left track and the right track, which is great. That's all I need this for. Yes, I could have gone cheaper, but I think I just like the way this looks, and so I paid for a little bit fanciness of it all. So from a hardware perspective, I could take one of the microphones and plug it in here, one of the microphones and plug it in here, and then I could do whatever I want with that. And I could walk around, and I could just, this, that, and the other, and I could, mic it up, less like I would if I was recording music. But I'm trying to fake human hearing. I'm trying to fake human hearing. So I know that basically means that I want to separate them by, a head's worth. It's great. What I really want to do, though, is I need that thing to funnel the shape of the ear. And so what I did is I went online, and you can buy very strangely, I'm actually opening it for the first time. You don't want to touch them, right? What you can buy is very strangely, they sell them on Amazon. They're like $30 for the pair. You can buy ears. Boy, my contrast is so, my brightness is so great in here you can't see it. I'm going to have to see if I can get this to come over here. So I literally have Silicone Ears. Let's see if I can get it to, there we go. Silicone Ears. So that's it, a Silicone ear. Now what's weird about the Silicone ear, it's pure white. I'm going to have to come back in and get rid of some of this shade. There we go. There you go. That's much better. What's weird about this ear, it's about the same size as my ear. Let's put it there. All right, I always do that one. That's about the same size as my ear. There's no hole in this one. Now, they sell these for simulation. They sell these to sell earrings. They sell these for modeling purposes. And the idea being is I got the ones without the hole in it so that I could put the hole in it myself. I figured that'd make my life a little bit easier. Now, if I had gotten the one where the XLR wasn't on the end of this, I would be able to go this way, but I'm not going to be able to go this way. I'm going to have to come the other way. So I'm going to have to actually go through the back and stick it this way into my little fake ear canal. And that's one way of doing it. I'll have two ears, and of course I got to affix it to something. And you'll see the commercial ones tend to be, an ear on one side, some sort of a box. Inside the box is going to be some sort of audio, a power source. And on one side of the box is one ear, and on the other side of the box is another ear. And of course they're going to separate it by what they assume is the average human head, and of course, the two XLRs come out and they go into a recorder, and that's their device. And that's an interesting way of doing it, but the problem, of course, is that it does discount one of the other big factors, which, of course, is not just the ears, but the head, the torso. And you've got to decide, again, how much you think this stuff matters, but the head one is a pretty big one, so I decided that for what I was going to do some demo purposes, I would go out, and I went out and I bought a head. They say is two heads are better than one, and it's not Gwyneth Paltrow's head; it's my head. All right, so I'm going to come over here and open it. Now, with this head, I've got to really ask myself: do I like the way these ears look? And if I had to compare, the ears on this ear to this ear, I would have to say that this does not seem to be like a really good anatomical ear. It's good from a head perspective. It's got that nice head shape. So I'm going to use and it's got a little hole in the bottom. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could come up and really do something here. But I started thinking about this because when you really start thinking about recording the audio, you've got different options in front of you. I've got to hold the microphone in my hand. I can stick the microphone through here, and I can hold this in my hand, and that'd be great. And of course, that'd be one way of doing it. But a few years ago, when I was first started doing binaural recordings, I found an Edirol microphone, Roland microphone, and what they were headphones that you put inside of your ears that were also microphones. So you actually were to come over here, you would put it inside of your ear, and I felt it stuck out a little bit more than I would want to out of my ear canal, but it was basically you were the microphone. And basically, I wish it stuck further down your ear canal. And as I thought about that, I thought, well, that would be great. So instead of building just this head, I thought about double duty. Could I build one of these that I could wear, but also one of these that I could choose not to wear? And that's where I started looking into things. And I thought, what would be really good is if I went and bought some soundproofing. So I put these on, and I really can't hear much of anything, which is great. They're really for shooting and for loud noises and for cutting things up. But the idea being is that these are basically not headphones, and they're flat on the outside. And I'm thinking, oh, this would be great, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire my ears onto this. So I'm going to have a slightly larger head than normal. But if I do this, and if I kind of cut them out and put them in like this, what will end up happening is I'll have a set of binaural headphones that I can wear, which of course means that it's going to use my head and my torso. And the funny part is I actually put headphones inside, so I could wear the headphones and if I wanted to hear it live. But most importantly is if I decided that I didn't want to wear it, I could grab the headphones that I've already built, and I could put them on this head here. And then I could put the head on a stick, and then I could have it walk around. Now, I'm cheating a little bit, and I'm not lying about the fact that I'm cheating a little bit, because what I'm doing is I'm creating a slightly larger head. Again, if you think about it from the other perspective, there are people who are making these microphones that don't create a head. They don't have any bounce. They don't have any bounce of the head, or again, I'm not using a torso, my torso, but so this is what I'm going to be working on. So what is the next step? And that's really, I haven't built it yet. This is literally me just telling you what I'm about to do and why I'm about to do it. So hopefully this will be useful. So for the next step is very simply this: is obviously I need to figure out where I'm going to put the microphones. That's just really quite straightforward. Is I'm going to jab in there with the ear canal, make a little hole, and get that microphone nice in there. I'm going to decide how I'm going to open this up. And so either I'm going to cut around and sink it in, which would be nice because then it's not too far out, not making my head too big. But again, you think about that. There are people out there with bigger heads than me that hear in, stereo. But I think about cutting this off. Again, this is not These are not headphones. They are literally just ear protection, which again is great because it allows me to kind of get over here and sync this in. And then once I've done that, I'll be able to run the wires out and run them into the field recorder. I still have some questions. The number one question I have is how much bumping is going to be a difference. How when you touch a microphone, if you start touching the microphone, you're going to start hearing noises, and obviously you want to avoid that. So you're going to find out like how careful am I going to have to be to wire these out, and is it going to be better if I kind of go into here and just walk around with the fake head, or is it going to work if I'm putting it on me? But I just don't like the idea of not having to commit one way or the other. I like the idea of being able to wear it and hearing it live. And I've done this before, by the way, and it's kind of a fun thing when you think about this, because again, I don't need. Normally, you talk about wearing cans, over-the-ear headphones, and not in-ear headphones. But with this, I could use the in-ear headphones, because if the signal is already processed through the fake ear into the ear canal, then all I need is the one that's going right into my ear. I don't need it to bounce the signal. That's the thing, is the ear doesn't matter at this point. The ear will already have been sort of factored out. So the idea being is that if I do this right, I could wear my really nice in-ear headphones over the the soundproof headphones over it, the ears over it, and then going through the audio, the field recorder, being able to hear in real time this ear properly bounced, this ear properly bounced, and know exactly what the binaural recording sounds like as I'm hearing it. And that's where, again, the soundproofing comes. I'm going to lose some of the soundproofing when I cut it, but the idea about this. And interestingly enough, when I have designed stereoscopic video cameras, and they're talking about way back in the day, we're talking about, 15, 20 years ago, when I've done the early stereoscopic, HD video cameras, when the rigs were $50,000, not like 800. We had built cameras where I was wearing head-mounted displays, where camera one was round through all the equipment and straight into my eye. Camera two was round through all the equipment straight into my eye. And even though the cameras were separated and wide angle and all these configured, you were viewing it real time. And so you could see virtual reality through the lens. And in this case, what I want to do is hear through the ears. And if done properly, it should just literally be a what you hear experience. And I'm really excited about this. So my items here have not been crazy expensive so far. Again, 2 ears, 2 microphones, 1 field recorder, 1 head, and some soundproof headphones. I'll put links to everything in the description. Absolutely, if you buy them, I get money. Not gonna lie, I love my affiliate links. And again, this is experimental so far, so I'm just letting you know what I am working with. And as we do this, I'll probably, obviously when I'm done, I'm actually be recording a bunch of stuff with it, so I'll put something together there as well for you to hear. But I wanted to walk through the process. I wanted you to understand what I'm doing with it. I will tell you, I had seen another video of somebody who had done it with headphones before, and if that was great. He was using silicone to make the ears come on and off, which I think is fascinating, but way more risky than I like. I want these to be permanent, and then decide whether or not to use the head or not. But I definitely think it's interesting to talk about the idea of where the line is drawn. I decided not to use $50 microphones, but I decided not to use $1,000 microphones either. And I needed one of these. Could I have bought something commercial? Yes. Why didn't I? At the end of the day, I didn't buy anything commercial because I wasn't convinced that they'd thought through all the factors. I think the head is a big deal. I think the torso can be a big deal. I think just separating it out with 2 ears isn't enough. And I think that becomes something important. Now, I'm going to have to deal with things like hiss, room tone. You can hear it. Even in this room, you can hear the room tone. I might clear it out. We'll see later. It's part 2 of the binaural recording here. And I've taken the ear and I've gone through with an awl. Well, basically it was a screwdriver, but really pointy screwdriver. And I've gone into the ear canal and I've poked a hole. And I went through the back and I pushed the microphone through so it kind of comes through, and you can see it's low in the what will be the virtual ear canal. It's just right there. Matter of fact, the protective cap came off when I did that, and I'm laughing because there's like a little bit of like dust in there. I'm like, how do I get the dust out of this ear? And I'm like, Q-tip. That's exactly. I'm going to clean this out with a Q-tip. And what's fun is that I definitely can hear noise if I touch the cable. So I'm going to really have to do some nice isolation of the cables to make sure that this part is out of the loop. But right now I am listening live to this ear, and it's very it is very earish. I mean, I was it eerie? No, it's very earish as I speak into it. It's a little tinny, which I have to sort of look into in terms of the way that I'm recording the audio. I can probably fix that. But right now, this idea that I can talk from the front of the ear or from the back of the ear, and there's a real distinct space. Really got the S in there. Oh my God, there's a distinct spatialness to the recording here. And I'm doing mono. I'm just listening to one ear right now. But if I talk to it like this and I come around like this and I talk like this, you can really hear where it is. And it almost sounds like the microphone's moving or I'm moving around the microphone, but really I'm just moving the ear. So this is in front, this is from the side, and this is from the back. And it's the same sort of signal. Now, the question is would I close my eyes and I go front and then of course back? Is it just an audio thing, or is it is it just a volume thing? But there is definitely a strange uh, distinction between this thing and that's spatial. By the way, here's the best part of it is because I'm doing the whole ear thing. The spatial is not just left right. That's the thing that you got to remember about this. Is none of this about left right. This is literally about the way that the brain is doing locationing, positioning in space based on the two signals. And so the left right is irrelevant. Just like when you've got the two eyes. It's not like your brain's like left eye, right eye. That rarely happens. That happens in your targeting. What happens is the brain takes the two signals because they're appropriately apart. They are similar and dissimilar enough that it uses everything it knows about things and it achieves stereopsis. And so the same thing kind of happens with this binaural recording is that it takes all of the signal that you've got. It feels right. I say feel because it really is a perceptual thing. It feels right. The signal is one that we're accustomed to. It's one that our brain is trained to. And it's like, all right, well, if I hear it like this, it's like this. And if I hear it like this, it's like this. And so this idea about, feeling all around, it's really, really there. So my only question now is, can I do a second ear? Can I plug it into here? Do I need to put the cap back on? But so far, so good. I'm extremely pleased with the way these silicone ears are working. Okay, so I look a little sweaty because I've been working, and it's been an interesting thing. So I've got these soundproof ear protection things, and what I've been doing is the first thing I did was I reached in and I pulled out the foam. I'm going to put them back in. This is basically the soundproofing, and so I don't need this in right now. There's a big piece, little piece. This is just hard plastic, and so what I've done is I traced the outside of where the silicone ear would go, and I've drilled a bunch of holes. It makes my life a little bit easier. Makes a huge mess, by the way, while you're doing it. On the other side, I've already done it, and of course, I've not only drilled the holes, but I've actually carved the hole out. And what's great about carving the hole out is that I can actually come over here. I can come over here. These things are so tight. And although I've written right and left on them just so I don't forget, and which way's forward and all that kind of good stuff. And little black plastic specks everywhere, which I will wash off a little bit later. But the idea being is that I can actually come over here and I can squeeze the ear through. And I haven't even, this is a nice tight fit. I can adjust the ear a little bit. Again, I can wiggle my ears too, So I get this over here. And so this one here is, it's pretty good to go. I've got an ear on a thing, and again, it's so super white. I haven't gotten the brightness down. I've got a wall switch over there, but somewhere here, I have everything in my house is smart. So let's see, who is my smart lighting through? Oh yes, there's my smart app. The one thing I don't have in this room is an Alexa. So here would be my. Let's see. There we go. Dim the light a little bit, and now you can see my ear. Aha! So I am not the stupidest person ever. All right, so now I've got this ear, and I don't have the microphone in it. I've already pulled the microphone out, which, by the way, I did put the protective cap back on the microphone. A little piece of metal that is designed to go over it, and it keeps it from makes it a lot less tinny, and it's the way it's supposed to be. They have different ones for different frequency ranges. I've got the most generic one, where I think I've got what's called the flat one. I'm covered in plastic shavings. But the idea being is if I come over here, I now have an ear outside my head. And you're like, yeah, isn't that bigger than it's? Yes, I'm a giant's head, but it's still relatively going to be accurate. I mean, it's just a couple inches either direction. Just imagine of that. So I'm going to come over here and I would do the same thing over here, and then I will have the wires come through into the microphone, and then I'll be able to put headphones in here as well, so that basically it'll be I will be listening through the recorder to the microphones that are in my fake ears. And I can either do that over my real head or over my fake head. There you go. So that's where I'm at right now. Few more minutes, a little more carving. Then I've got to go through and really figure out how I'm going to get the wire over under the ear, kind of a little bit of wire maintenance. That's going to be on you. I haven't cut myself yet. That's a good thing. And then I got to figure out how to clean up and then decide how and if I'm going to glue things down. I'm always like, is this perfect? And the good news is things are wedged so well, I may leave things wedged for a bit until I decide that it's time to seal it in using some sort of adhesive or sealant. And I'll get there. But so far, so good. Wow, what a mess. I will admit this made quite a mess in my office. Because I was, drilling through really hard plastic. I'm actually thrilled that I decided to use the soundproofing, the sound protection as my base. I think it's got the durability that I would want for this. I want to kind of go over it. I'm a little dimmer right now, again, because I want to be able to see the ears. Now you can see the sort of things that are going on with the ears. The first one is it's covered in plastic dirt. So I'm gonna have to go take this downstairs and get all of the little bits of plastic off the silicone, which is just a disaster. Now you'll notice if I come over here that the cap is back on. I mentioned this in a clip a moment ago. The cap is back on. I need it to be back on. Otherwise, it's dangerous for the microphone, and it also makes it extra tinny. I have carved a little bit of a bigger hole here so that it will wedge nicely. I've also cut a little bit of a notch in the back. And the reason I've done this is that when I do go to put this in here, I want to get it nice and deep in there. And it's funny because I found the best way to get this in reliably is to use a Q-tip. It really is the best way to get this sort of in here without damaging anything. So I'm not pushing hard on anything. I want to make sure that I'm sort of emerging through. If I cut the hole too big, then everything will fall out. If I cut it too small, then it'll kind of wedge in there. But what I've noticed is that as I come over here, I don't want to bend this. I don't want to bend this, but I definitely want to be able to keep it nice. So I'm sort of creating a loop here that kind of comes in flat. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put something here to affix it over to keep this flat, so that loop will stay there, so it'll prevent it from getting extra damagey in there. So that's what's going to happen after I clean it up. Now, what's fun is if I come over here, see I've got the other ear already poking out of the headphone. I come in from the inside and I emerge, making sure I'm pointing in the right direction, because there's definitely a reason why our ears are pointing in the same direction, at least from a mental perspective. It does make you wonder, though, if one ear pointed this way and one ear pointed this way, whether the brain would have adapted and triangulated sound differently. And I'm coming in here and I'm just wedging it in. And I don't want to wedge it out too far. I want it to get in as almost as flush as I can on the ear. And of course, there are some variations here. I mean, obviously, which way is parallel is exactly what my ears wiggle, that kind of thing. So I've got this in here, there. I'm going to have again, I don't have the wire affixed. It's just kind of loose in there. I'm going to have it come upward like this. So there's two pieces of foam. There's a small one and a big one. So I'm going to put the small one back in the way it was. And then I'm going to put the big one in on top of it. And of course, there's also bits of plastic here that have to be removed. And so now, there you go. So I have, and of course, I've done nothing to keep these from, the wires from going straight up. Sorry. Straight up. So I can come over here like this. And I can put it on top of my head. And now the head's a little bit bigger than a human being's head because the ears are sticking out further. But now I could walk around like this and I could record. I have this in my field recorder and I'm good to go. Now, I could do a couple of interesting things here because this head is plastic as well. And if I wanted to, I could actually then cut away the ears out of the side of this head so that the headphones, the ear protection, sunk in lower and made this actually the size of a head. And I might do that. I haven't decided how I feel about cutting off this head yet. I'm actually very happy with the way the rest of this came up. What's fun for me, and what's most exciting is I've got my Zoom audio recorder plugged in, and I've got these earbuds. They're like Apple headphones, but they're not. There's no microphone on them, and they just go right in the ear. So they're in the ear, which means they've bypassed the shape of my ears. Irrelevant now. The shape of my ears are relevant now. Whatever signal I get is going right into my ear canal, and but that signal I'm getting is going to come directly from. And again, I haven't finished the wiring, or at least the prettiness of the wiring. So this is still in beta, because I've got to clean it up first. Here we go. So there we go. So I am listening. If I come over here and hit the record button, turn it on. There we go. I hit record, and now I am listening through the microphones. So the spatialness, and it's an exaggerated spatialness because it's like I'm listening through a giant's head because my head is larger than it is. But there it is. It's I can hear through the speakers in the thing, and my face and my chest is being partly of the spatialness of it. But when I do this, it's definitely there's definitely a you're hearing both at the same time. There's a very nice spatialness to this, and I'm pretty excited. So I have to. So what's next? Before I actually play for you some recordings, which is not going to be in this video because that video is going to be specifically separate. So this is the theoretical video on how you built a video, but not the and here's the demo video. Got to come back for that. But for next thing I'm going to do is I've got to clean up these ears. I've got to fix this. It's very weird because they're so nicely wedged. Like they're so nicely wedged that I'm like, I should just leave it. And then part of me is just like, well, I can knock it apart, or maybe I should use some sealant in there, something that will glue it in place. I may put in more soundproofing material. I have some soundproofing material that I have from other projects. So I may actually cut some circles of soundproofing material to make these headphones even more, these ear protections even more deadening, so that all I'm going to hear is from the microphones. I'm feeling really good about the fact that when I touch this cable, I'm touching the cable over here, and I'm not hearing anything because it's all isolated because of the way it's put together. So that's really exciting. That was my number one worry, was that I was going to touch these cables and hear sorts of things, and I'm not, because where it's coming out of the headphones is really kind of securing it. So very, very fun here. It's still a little tinny. But that actually may be more accurate than not. I'm so used to hearing things that have been sort of modified for podcasts that the tinniness of the real world is there. But I'm getting some. Oops, I hit my ear. I felt that. I'm getting some good stuff here. So this is my project. Again, I'll put stuff in the links. But the last thing I'm going to do is I am going to come over here. It's so dangerous. Feels very solid. So that's exciting, and I don't think I'm going to have to, it's solid enough that I think, I don't think it's too hollow, but if I can really get this going, that'll be really, really nice if I really cut the hole out, because then when I put the ears on here, I won't get the torso, but I will get the head shape, and I will be able to carry this around on a stick or be able to mount it and do work around, face me. I will be able to do work around it while I'm doing recordings so that I can be like, doing stuff around the head versus just having it around me. So one is really for field applications, which is the sort of me walking around recording, and the other is for me to do sort of studio applications with this guy right here, who apparently has the same amount of hair as I do. Ooh, this is exciting. So I put the headphones on the dummy head, and I drew a circle where I was going to cut out, and I grabbed an X-Acto knife, and when I peel it off, what you're going to find is it looks like it's styrofoam, which is great for what I want to do, because what that means is this is going to be really easy to hollow out, so I can put those headphones inside there. So I thought I'd show you this. So it's going to be really easy to sort of carve a big hole into this so when the headphones sit on the dummy head, it'll be the exact spacing I need it to be, which is very exciting because not everyone's going to want to, like, again, I've got to make compromises here, right? Is it better to have the torso? Is it better to hear me live? Is it better to be able to walk around with the head? And so this is going to be, more realistic on the ear size and head without torso, but also allow me to do tape on and stuff. So, yeah. So I started making divots, and I started cutting holes, and I started cutting holes, and then I went crazy, and then, wait a second, what would be the best way of doing this? And so I actually went all the way through. I actually cut a hole big enough for the ears to go all the way through, and then I cut a hole in the back. So now I've got a hole in the back of my head. Everyone always says I did. Anyway, so I got the wires up here, but it's really fascinating. And then the last thing is I grabbed an old tabletop mic stand and I just crammed it up there, which is great because I hate these tabletop mic stands because they never can hold any weight unless it's center mounted. So this is phenomenal. Anyway, so I grabbed this tabletop mic stand, and what's very fun is that I got the wires run in properly. So again, look at that. If I come over here and drag them in, there we go. And what's fun about this is that because there we go, because the holes are the right size, and because I can kind of put them in here a little bit like this, and there they go. And it's nice is the top of this holds it together. So while I can still wear it on my ears, I don't need to because this thing is here it is. It's the full head. Da-da, da-da, da-da. So to summarize, because I actually have played with it now and it's phenomenal. To summarize, here's what we've got. I'm going to go backwards. I have a mannequin head that I purchased on Amazon, stuck on a tabletop microphone stand, which I've had for years, but I'll spec one out for you. I've hollowed out the head, just cutting it out, and that was fun. Just a little bit of scraping really slowly and made a mess everywhere. I've got these ear protection, nice and solid, which I then cut holes out of. I then put inside of that. They're just wedged. They're not in there. Just wedged nicely. These silicone ears, and inside of the silicone ears, I cut holes, and I have two lapel mics that are coming out the back, and they come out the back. At which point they go into the stereo field recorder. At which point I can listen to it wearing just a good pair of over-the-ear headphones. So now I am listening to this guy right here, and it is awesome. I'm going to do a whole nother video with samples. I know I've probably said in this video I'm going to do another video, and this whole video is very long, but I mean it this time because this is the end. I'm done. So this idea, I will have to clean up all the dust off of this, but silicone, it gets dusty. It tracks the kind of stickiness to it. But I'm not going to seal them. I'm just going to leave it as is. I like the idea that I can kind of move the ears a little bit out. Everything seems nice and tight, and it works really, really well. And this is the size of a regular human head. It's kind of nice, and again, I can do this and get all my spatialness out of it, which we'll do in another video. And it's great because on a tabletop. So, hi everybody, my name is Jared Bendis, and I really hope you've enjoyed sticking around. And again, normally when I do a video like this, I either do it's all demo, like how to make it, or it's all theory. And I kind of zoomed in and out on this one, but I really wanted to kind of do this on one sitting. It's actually two sittings. This is a different blue shirt than yesterday. But if you like the video, please subscribe, like, comment. I really appreciate all the videos I've seen online. I stand on the shoulders of giants to build what it is that I want to build. And thank you very much for watching. See you next time.